Asylum Inc. presents Phobic, an exploration of fear. Fine gauge. The fluorescent bulbs hummed their sepulchral chorus above Tessa Coldwell's trembling form as she was wheeled through the sterile corridors of our facility, her arms swathed in layers of makeshift bandages that wept crimson through their cotton shrouds. What manner of violation had she endured at that mundane clinic? That temple of routine medicine where the ordinary transforms into nightmare with surgical precision. Her eyes, those windows to a soul under siege, darted ceaselessly about the intake room, cataloguing each surface for the metallic glint of her persecutors. Even the IV stand, empty, benign, caused her to recoil with such violence that the restraints cut crescents into her wrists. The very air seemed to bristle with invisible menace in her presence, as though reality itself had grown teeth. "They missed the vein," she whispered, her voice a dry rasp against the antiseptic silence. "Twice. But that wasn't the real violation, Doctor. That came after, when the room emptied and I felt them threading through my vessels, like worms seeking dark, warm places to nest." The words spilled from her cracked lips in a litany of terror, describing sensations that no medical text had ever catalogued. She spoke of the nurse, a figure she could no longer properly remember, whose face shifted like smoke whenever she tried to focus, and of waking to find her arm bandaged by hands she had never felt. But beneath that clinical gauze, something had taken root. The hallucinations, if indeed they were mere phantoms of a fractured psyche, began with her morning cereal. Golden wheat flakes floating in milk that caught the light wrong, each kernel bristling with hair-thin needles that pricked at her tongue before dissolving into metallic bitterness. Her bathroom mirror became a portal to subcutaneous horrors, its surface reflecting pores that yawned wide like puncture wounds, weeping clear fluid that tasted of copper and fear. Sleep became impossible. Her bed, once a sanctuary, now writhed with invisible filaments that sought entry through every follicle, every tender membrane. She sealed herself into the bathroom, that porcelain tomb, nailing the door shut with boards torn from her kitchen table. The bathtub became her fortress against invasion, its cold enamel the only surface she trusted not to sprout the questing tendrils of her tormentors. Yet still, they found her. Still, they probed. Her fingernails were the first to go, 10 perfect crescents of keratin pried loose with the dedication of the truly desperate. Beneath each nail bed, she insisted, lay the evidence of her violation. Threads so fine they seemed spun from light itself, pulsing with their own alien rhythm. We found no such filaments, of course, only the raw, weeping wounds of self-mutilation. But her certainty remained absolute, unwavering as the grave. "You don't understand," she breathed during our first session, her bandaged fingers gesturing at shadows only she could perceive. "This isn't random. This isn't madness. They're testing, probing for compatibility. Some bodies reject the dose, others..." She trailed off, her gaze growing distant as she studied the patterns of light filtering through the reinforced windows. "Others are perfect hosts." The program, she called it, a systematic cultivation of human flesh for purposes that transcended the merely medical. Each needle strike was a sensor, each puncture a data point in some vast catalogue of vulnerability. The missed veins had been no accident. They had been reconnaissance, mapping the pathways of her circulatory system with the precision of cartographers charting new worlds. Night after night, she would lie rigid in her hospital bed, feeling the threads multiply beneath her skin like a growing neural network of foreign design. They pulsed with the rhythm of her heart, she claimed, but played a different tune, a discordant symphony that spoke of transformation yet to come. Her veins had become highways for invaders who moved with purpose through the territories of her flesh, marking routes for the great migration that was surely coming. The mirror in her room showed her what daylight concealed. a roadmap of silver lines spreading beneath her skin like the delta of some underground river. They branched and divided with each passing hour, following the natural architecture of her lymphatic system while weaving new patterns of their own devising. Soon, she whispered, they would reach her brain, that final frontier where the last of her resistance would be catalogued and overcome. We increased her medication. We padded the corners of her room. We watched as she systematically destroyed every reflective surface within reach, convinced that mirrors were portals through which her tormentors observed their handiwork. But still, the threads multiplied. Still, the program advanced its inexorable design. "Can't you see them?" she pleaded during our final recorded session, pressing her face against the observation window until her breath fogged the reinforced glass. "In the light. Catch them in the light and you'll see. They're beautiful. Terrible and beautiful. Like spider silk spun from starlight." And perhaps, God forgive me, for just a moment in that sterile room, as the late afternoon sun slanted through the security mesh and illuminated the tears tracking down her ravaged cheeks, I thought I saw them too. Those gossamer threads of impossible fineness, weaving their patterns just beneath the surface of her skin, pulsing with a rhythm that was almost, but not quite, human. Attending notes, Dr. June Caro. Patient remains convinced of systemic infiltration via subcutaneous implantation of foreign matter. No physical evidence detected through multiple examinations, though skin conductivity readings show unusual patterns. Have ordered additional tests. Patient's condition deteriorating. Now claims the threads have reached cranial cavity. Of particular concern, 3 other patients admitted this week with similar delusions, all citing routine medical procedures as point of origin. Investigating common medical suppliers. Strange coincidence, or something more systematic. The similarity of their accounts is troubling. We'll continue observation, though I confess the case is beginning to affect my own sleep. Keep finding myself checking mirrors for silver lines beneath my skin. Ridiculous, of course. Still. Note: patient's former clinic, Halberd family, has closed unexpectedly. Building vacant. Will attempt to locate staff for interview. If this is mass hysteria, the vector of transmission remains unclear. If not, God help us all. If you found yourself stirred, unsettled, or just a bit more wary of shadows, consider offering a like to feed the entity that powers these tales. And should you subscribe, you may yet survive to hear the next whisper from the void.